Hey, this is Jeff Rose, goodfinancialsense.com. Welcome again. Glad you can join me. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a question, or actually, want to answer a question that I get quite frequently from the blog. A lot of people find my blog. A lot of these people are want to get in the industry, want to become a financial advisor. And a lot of times, they'll ask me, like, "Hey, Jeff, how did you get started? What can you give me some tips as far as getting started as to be a financial advisor or financial planner?" So, I thought the best way to answer that, I'm actually working on a post too that I'm actually seeking the counsel from some other financial advisors and kind of how they got started. But today, I really just want to kind of share my story, how I got started, and what kind of led me down that path to kind of where I'm at today. So, hopefully, this is helpful and inspirational for any of those that want to follow in my footsteps, so to speak, or anyone's footsteps as a financial advisor. So. Um, but basically, my story, I was a finance major at Southern Illinois University, and honestly did not really know what I wanted to do. I know that I was going to be in finance. I knew I was going to be in numbers. Um, I'd always had been in sales throughout my younger life. I think the first job I had, first real job, was selling party goods supplies while I was in high school. That later turned into a job at Radio Shack where I was selling electronics. And then in college, I was working at GNC at a nutrition store in the mall, selling vitamins and protein powders and all that stuff. So that's always kind of been my nature. I always like helping people, and especially trying to help their problems, or solve solutions for them. So anyway, I was going to Southern Illinois University, majoring in finance, and right about the end of my junior year, it kind of hit me that I really hadn't done anything yet as far as experience. Yes, I was working, part-time job. Yes, I was in the National Guard. So I had some good resume stuff. I really didn't have anything that was really centered around finance. So I kind of had one of those pucker moments where I'm like, hey, I need to do something. So I kind of looked in the area and I realized that, hey, I need to do an internship of some kind. So at the time, there was an A.G. Edwards office in my town here in Carbondale. And my dad knew one of the advisors there, so he kind of put a phone call in for me and kind of, found out who I needed to talk to. So I applied, and for an internship between my summer vacation, so to speak, between my junior year and senior year, and I got it. Now, this internship was not much of anything. I filed, I did paper shredding, and just a lot of the basic administrative type things that you expect an intern to do. Didn't really get a lot of experience, other than the fact that, hey, I got my foot in the door. I had to have that. There was that big step. I showed up each and every day, wearing my shirt and tie, looking professional. And the other big thing was, I made some connections. I met some of the other advisors there. Started to inquire about the business, and somewhere along the way, I was actually helping out one of the assistants. She was an assistant to one of the top producers there in the branch, and I just did some filing for her. And when I started doing the filing, I realized that they kind of hadn't went through their files in a while. So I kind of really improved their filing system, kind of cleaned it up for them, and just really made it more manageable. And nothing extra special. I mean, to me, it was it seemed like the right thing to do. So it wasn't like I was really doing anything above and beyond what I thought was necessary. So that made a really good impression on her. And then she went to the producer and said, hey, at that time, that producer actually was looking to hire a part-time college student to help her out, with some of her tasks. So she had went to him and kind of said, hey, you need to take a look at this Jeff guy. He did an awesome job for me, helping me out. So had a quick little interview, and he asked me if I was interested, and I thought, what the heck, might as well. I was working 20 plus hours a week. Why not take on an extra 15 hours, working here in my senior year? So I started working there part-time, about 15 hours a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And just basically I was basically a glorified intern, meaning I was actually paid now, and just doing a lot of the similar tasks I had been doing before. But the one big difference was, in this case, I started, he had me start cold calling for him. And if you don't know what cold calling is, it basically is that annoying telemarketer that calls you in the middle of dinner or your favorite TV show and interrupts you to see if you're interested in meeting with a financial advisor. I was that guy. Sorry if that was you and I interrupted your favorite show. But I just basically would call and see if they had any interest in meeting with him, because I wasn't licensed, so I couldn't, set the appointment. But I could at least call and see if they wanted to meet with him. And it was pretty nerve wracking. I never really had done anything in my life, but I thought, what the heck, we'll give it a try. And sure enough, I actually ended up setting a few appointments with him, or for him, excuse me. So we set some appointments, and he was really impressed by that. Here I am, this kid in college, doing some cold calling, and getting him appointments, and he was really impressed by that. And we kind of continued our discussions, and he actually had made me an offer to hire me as a junior broker to work underneath him. And initially, I turned it down because I wasn't interested. I felt I was too young. I really didn't understand the business all that well. And I had this bigger vision of moving up to St. Louis, working at some corporate job, riding the corporate ladder, and just that was kind of like my goal, my vision. And as graduation started getting closer, the job that I thought I had lined up turned out had fallen through. Turns out the company actually had a layoff and was not hiring. And they always say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, I kind of had, because that's where I wanted to work. That's I just felt that's where it was going to be, and turns out it wasn't. So here we are. Graduation is a few months away, and then so I thought, hey, what am I going to do now? So I entertained the offer again. We had another discussion, about the job duties, etc. And somewhere in the first part of the year of 2002, I accepted. And I knew that once I graduated that I was going to become a junior broker at A.G. Edwards and Sons. And that's basically how it got started. And from there, I got my licenses. I started doing more cold calling, setting more appointments, and it just kind of became me, I guess. I ended up ended up being a good fit for me. So after a year of being a junior broker, I ended up branching off on my own. I actually outgrew the junior broker position and became my own advisor, was able to keep all my clients, and that's how it was up until the point that I got deployed to Iraq. But that's how I got started in the business. It was the internship that led to the part-time job that led to the junior broker position that ultimately led to me becoming my own financial advisor. Obviously since then I've left and helped co-found my own investment firm, Alliance Investments, and that was kind of the path. So there are many different paths that you can go, but for any of those that if you're really interested in becoming a financial advisor, I think my path is a good one to mimic, just because you do the internship. It gives you hopefully a good understanding of the position and basically what it really means to become a financial advisor. I'm amazed that many people don't really truly know what we do. They kind of have this Wall Street boiler room impression of kind of what we do, and obviously that's not the case. But then, I also say that I've had other interns that have followed after me. Once I actually became, a financial advisor, I try to return the favor, to my university and allowing interns to come in, and work underneath me. Except I wanted to have them get more of a feel of what it really meant to be a financial advisor. So I had them actually doing some cold calling for seminars and such, and some other tasks, so they kind of knew what it really took. Not just the filing and the paper shredding that I had to do. And after me, I've had at least 4, if not 5 interns that ended up becoming a financial advisor, with some other firm, or at least involved in the financial services industry. So, it worked for me, it worked for them, it can easily work for you. So if you're, still in college and you're still wondering, or, you really think this might be a good fit for you, do an internship, do several internships. I actually did some mock interviewing for the university about a year or so ago, and met this young guy who had done 2 internships with 2 big firms and was getting ready to do his 3rd. And I mean, you talk about light years ahead of the competition. I mean, this guy knew what he wanted, so it was pretty impressive. So now, if you're currently working and you're not in school and you want to do it, I know the internship's kind of tough, because especially if it's a non-paid, but there are some paid internships, so you still might be able to do a paid internship to kind of see if it's really a good fit for you. So I really hope that was helpful. Obviously, if you have any more questions and you want to hit me up. Just shoot me an email or can contact me via the blog, and I'll be glad to assist you as much as I can and just kind of give you my tips and my expertise. And hopefully have you walk down a career path that ends up being the perfect fit for you. So. Thanks again for checking in and stopping in and listening to the video cast here. So stop by and we'll talk to you soon.